Hey guys, it's Ernesto and welcome back to yet another broadcast of Talking Business. So this is a live broadcast where I sit down and I chat with real business owners and get their feedback and tips and tricks on certain things. Tonight we're going to be talking about 5 tips on how to acquire brides. So we're going to have a special guest on. His name is Jeff Kolbfleisch, and we're going to be talking to him in just a little bit. But before I get into that, I'd just like to do my little quick programming bit just to make sure that you guys could hear me, you guys could see me, and there's no technical issues. I know I watched the live broadcast last night from the Monday Critique Show, and I noticed that my lips were moving, but it wasn't in sync. I'm working on that, fixing that. I got to get a new live stream software, and I'm going to fix that. But in any case, so if this is your first time joining the live broadcast, or joining the show or this channel, what we do here on this channel is basically we do 4 things. We concentrate on 4 specific things. We show behind the scenes videos on lighting, posing, composition, and post-production, and then we do these 2 live broadcasts, Monday Critiques, where we critique subscribers' images. So if you want to submit your images, you submit it, and on the Monday Critique live broadcast, we basically would critique your 2 images. And then this broadcast, which is Talking Business, where we sit down with a real business owner and get their tips and tricks on operating their business. Tonight is going to be a little bit different from the last Talking Business show. It's not going to be heavily on interview because I want to dive straight into this topic. I feel like people want to get information on this particular topic. So I'm just going to get some quick background information on our guests, and then we'll go into the 5 tips. Now, if you guys do have any questions during this process, please drop those questions in the chat box and put the word question in front of it, or put a question mark in front of it so that we know it's a question, and then we will get straight into it. So I see a couple of people in there, James and Jerome. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining. So I'm assuming there's no technical issues because you guys are not telling me any. So with that said, I'm going to jump straight into it here. So I'm going to introduce our guest again. His name is Jeff Kolbfleisch. Now, I have him on mute, so I'm going to bring him up here, and then I'm going to show him on the screen, and then we'll get straight into this. So this is where the awkward thing comes in because I have to switch. So apologies. Now, wait 1 second, guys. I've been delaying. Wait an hour. No, I don't want to wait an hour. Sorry, guys. Hang on. My computer is trying to reboot, so I got to make sure that I stop that from happening on this broadcast. So, all right. Awesome. Okay, so I just did that. Now, here we are. So, Jeff, what's going on, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I am awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Jeff. Give us a little bit of 15-second elevator pitch about yourself.
15-second elevator pitch. Originally from Pennsylvania, much like everyone here in North Carolina. I'm not from here. I originally, most of my career was actually spent in working in the legal field, and I was a professional musician for a longer time than I care to think about. And we relocated down here in 2010, 2011, and I got away from working in the legal field. I just got tired of it. I was working corporate law for a big firm, and I was actually having some days where I was sitting down at my desk at 9 a.m. and I left my desk at 11:30 a.m. the next day, and that just wasn't very conducive for a human being. So I decided that probably was not the way I wanted to go with this. I always had a affinity for photography, and I decided, much like with every other venture I get involved with, I kind of threw myself into it and obsessed about it, and like everyone, well, not everyone, but, like so many people, you get sucked into watching all the creative live stuff, and every YouTube video you can get your hand on it. And I just really just, lived and breathed it constantly until I turned it from more of just a hobby into an actual true skill set, and, something I wanted to do professionally.
Wow. Are you a lawyer, or were you a lawyer?
I'm sorry, I was a paralegal. I don't mean to miss. Yeah, I was the one who did all the work and got paid the paralegal fee. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you got bit by the bug, photography. When I got into photography, I moved down to when I moved down to North Carolina is when I got into photography. I was like never, ever, ever into photography. I didn't even think about photography as as something that I even wanted to do. But when I moved down to North Carolina, I wanted to pick up a hobby. And that hobby happened just to be photography. I picked up at the time, it was an expensive camera. And I was like, okay, I'm going to obsess about this camera and try to figure it out. And, I did, because I'm a kind of a geek. Once I figured it out, then after that, I was like, okay, let me see what else I could do with it, push it. And then from there, that's how I got bit by the bug, but, getting into photography. So was it like for you, is it just because you just wanted to get out of the paralegal world, or you just wanted to, or was it something that you picked up as a hobby and be like, okay, well, I'm going to just do this full time. So how did you?
Well, I mean, it was partially because around the same time, I was also, like I said, I played music and a number of bands, and at the time, the big money making thing was doing tribute bands and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And I'd done a lot of work and traveled and playing a lot of dates each year. And I can remember very clearly, I was actually on the stage of the House of Blues in Cleveland, and I was looking out at the crowd, and I was thinking to myself, I really just don't want to do this one more time. And I couldn't do it. It was like, I'd played for 25, 30 years, almost nonstop. And I was like, I just couldn't bring myself to do it anymore. And I was already starting to get into photography because I just need another creative outlet, as you would. And I think that's where kind of more from there, where I kind of walked away from one creative outlet, and I needed some other way to express it. And that's how it kind of turned into photography.
So did you jump into photography with both feet?
Oh, totally. Everything I do is it's way over the top of why I do it. Like I said, I obsessed about it. Everything I could watch, everything I could read. I constantly had a camera in my hand. I remember even back when I was back in Pittsburgh, I did have some film cameras, and that was a good time where you take a roll of film and wait a couple of days to see how much you suck, and then well, that's great. But then when I finally got my first good digital DSLR, and originally right off the bat, I wasn't putting in P for professional from the moment I got it. It was in manual, and I was going to force myself. That's how I'm going to shoot, no matter what happens. So, kind of put myself through that, and like I said, it just kind of went on from there.
So, how long was the transition period from you doing your paralegal into actually doing photography full time? Were you like most photographers or most business people that want to transition from their 9-to-5 into something that they're passionate about? How long was it before you made that full-time transition into your business?
It was definitely more, again, still, I knew that I ultimately wanted, I could see that there was a career out there, and there was money to be made. But I also knew that I wasn't in any position to go out and charge for that either. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I was still, working paralegal jobs or other type of admin jobs for a while. And, it slowly kind of turned from one to the other. It's kind of a funny thing is I really didn't have originally a whole lot of love for wanting to be a wedding photographer. I didn't think, I heard a lot of horror stories that, it was just, a lot of work, a lot of bridezillas and all this, nobody wanted to do that. And ultimately I got dragged into doing some second shooting. and I loved it. It was, and I think part of that was, um, working in um, a commercial corporate law firm. It was always very chaotic. And I think that the controlled chaos of a wedding day was something I kind of, I strived in. That it is different every time you shoot a wedding. It's a lot of problem solving, and it can be tedious sometimes. But I think that's kind of actually what endears it for me.
So would you recommend, people that's trying to get into the wedding industry or being a wedding photographer more specifically, to get into it more from a second shooter as opposed to doing it themselves, the full wedding themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, and I would say even third shooting, where you really have no responsibility other than you're learning the mechanism of the wedding day and how it flows. Where you're not really taking on any responsibility. You may think your technical chops are up to par, but at the end of the day, you have to think that it's a bigger animal we're talking about. It's somebody's wedding day. It's not we're doing an engagement session at the local park, and if you kind of drop the ball on it, we can reschedule and redo it. If you miss something, if something goes wrong, that's it. I mean, there's no do-over. And so you have to know that you can do that. And so I staunchly believe that people should, because I mean, you really don't have the apprenticeships anymore. I mean, that kind of doesn't happen. But I believe you should be third shooting. You should be second shooting. You should work your way up. As one of the internet, the people involved in the photography community says, you bought a camera, you didn't buy a business.
Right.
It's always a shame. Every Black Friday rolls around, all of a sudden, there's this overflowing number of ads on social media of brand new photographers. I don't. It concerns me sometimes they don't take the role seriously enough. That especially for weddings, like I said, it is very important to people, and it should be treated as such.
I totally agree. I mean, before I even got into shooting weddings, and I don't do an awful lot of weddings, but before I get into shooting weddings, my wife and I, we didn't get like officially married and like a full wedding, I should say. We didn't get like a full wedding. We went down to the courts to get our the papers, just to get the papers. Yeah. And we were there and we just said, you know what, let's just do it. Let's just get married. And we just did it. So I never actually knew the whole process of, the getting ready, the ceremony, the reception, and all that good stuff. I never knew any of that. And I think going into it as a wedding photographer, for me, it was kind of stressful because I didn't know any of that. And what I decided to do was basically do some second shooting just to understand, not necessarily to learn to photograph anything, but understand the process, the flow of how things go. So I think that's totally agree with that. So how long have you been running your business full time?
My business, Jeff Allen Studios, I think I've been running that now for about 6 years now, and it's ebbs and flows like any other business, but I've been seeing some steady forward movement. I'm happy with where we're going with it. I'm generally as busy as I want to be. So it's it's been an interesting ride developing a business doing this. And now I just kind of put my toe out in other things, doing a little bit of commercial work and things of that nature, but still the meat and potatoes all comes back to weddings.
I just had a question now popped out of my head. Let's see if I could pull it back. I hate when that happens. All right. Now that just tossed me off my entire flow. So anyways, let's flow into, let me see, I'll bring it back. Guys, I'm going to give everybody a quick reminder. So if you have any questions, guys, please pop those questions in the comments, and we'll get to it when we'll finish with the presentation, which we'll do in a minute. And I still didn't get that question back. Damn, I hate when that happens. I did not just blow up my whole flow. Anyways, oh, I know what it is. It came back. Excellent. Thank, man. The brain is it's a tricky thing. So what do you think of the current wedding photography industry now, like as of today? Like, do you think it's like have a projection upwards, or do you see like a flat line? Like, how do you, from a business perspective, how do you view it?
From a business perspective, 2017 was a very weird year, and it's not, and I can say that confidently because I speak with a lot of professionals across the country. 2017, for some reason, was very odd. You had to work a little bit harder for your bookings. The numbers weren't really there as much, it seemed like. No one seemed to understand what that was about. I do see an uptick already coming back for 2018. A lot of folks booking. So it could have just been a glitch in the matrix. Who knows? But, you know, for the people that want to say that the work isn't out there, or there's too many photographers and it's saturated, in North Carolina alone, there's over 70,000 weddings a year, roughly.
Wow.
I can't shoot 70,000 weddings. I would like to make a shot at it, but I can't do it. Most photographers, you know, if you're doing it full time, that's your gig, you know, you're shooting somewhere between 15 to 40. There's a lot of room for you to find your 15 or 40 brides in that 70,000, I would have to assume. You know, there's couples are being engaged about 14 months out. Most couples are spending roughly about $29,000 on their weddings. And I believe the numbers that I saw, they're spending about $29,000 on their wedding. About 46% of that are actually spending above that, though. So, I mean, there's money out there to be had. So, you know, for the people coming down on that there's too many people out there and there's too many photographers, I'm probably not going after that bride that's looking for a photographer on Craigslist. I mean, so I'm not overly worried about that. My concern comes more from the person who just went out and bought a camera and using their kit lenses, and they're going out and they're advertising that they want to shoot a wedding for $2,000, and they're way in over their head, and the more disturbing part is they don't even realize how far they're in over their head. You know, until they come back and they're in a dark church and they have no idea how to deal with zero functional light and just what to do and how to handle it. It's the work is out there. I think I don't have any problem with the industry right now. I think there's a lot of panic in the industry, and I think a lot of people are. You're seeing a lot of workshops out there. A lot of people that swear that they know the secret to fixing your business and getting you up and going. There's no silver bullet. There's no trick.
Just hard work.
It's just hard work. Yeah, I mean, there's no. Anyone that says otherwise, they're lying to you just to take your money. And a lot of these guys, the way I look at it is if they were so damn good, they would need to supplement their income with a workshop. That their business acumen isn't where it should be to begin with. It's just.
It's I think I never heard that number before. 70,000 weddings in North Carolina alone. I think that is
every year.
Yeah, I think that is so fascinating in the sense that I love numbers. I'm not a math type of guy, but I love facts and figures, and that's a significant fact that I was never aware of. And I think that's one of the things that people out there that wants to get into any business, let alone wedding photography business, is making sure you understand your numbers, understand the market, understand what you can charge, like that average of 29,000 that you're talking about, understand where people are with respect to, their budgets. And then if you're charging, $20,000 for your wedding, as a wedding photographer, you might be pricing yourself out of the market. So I guess those are good things to be aware of. Now, since we're talking about, the 70,000 brides, I think this is a good transition point into the 5 tips. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, like I said, drop those questions. I see people putting some questions in there already, so that's awesome. We will get to those questions, but now we're going to transition into the 5 tips where myself and Jeff, well, Jeff mostly is going to basically be going over these tips, and we're going to have a conversation about it. And then, you guys could put your questions down below. And I apologize about the PowerPoint right now because I didn't have much time to work on it, but it will work. It will work. All right. All right. So let me switch to my desktop here, and I'll let Jeff take it away. So Jeff, just a reminder, when you're ready to let me switch over, just let me know and I'll switch.
All right, I don't see your screen, so which slide are you on right now?
Very first one. Just
the 5 tips on acquiring brides. Yeah, and keep in mind, a lot of this stuff we're going to talk about, we are going to very superficially look at SEO. We're going to talk about Google ads and Facebook ads and things of that nature. This is not just for the wedding photographers out there. A lot of this stuff is very universal. So, if you're not a wedding photographer, don't skip over to a CAD video somewhere and watch that. There's some information here that's useful to you. I'm going to speak more from a wedding point of view, and a lot of my opinions are going to be based that way, and some of the stuff may be tailored more that way. But there is some information in there, and so I guess moving forward, if you want to.
Okay.
So again, we're going to start with talking about social media, Google ads, and SEO, and all 3 of those we could probably do a show just individually about. So it's by no stretch meant to be. We're going to cover everything about these topics today. You may or may not have heard that there's a new rollout going with Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg has decided that us small business people are just getting too much traffic off his coattails, and we're all about to go the way of the dodo bird unless we pay for our Facebook ads. I find that Facebook ads, and again, some of the information I'm passing along is because I talk to a lot of professionals across the country, and we kind of exchange notes and on marketing different things. So that's where I'm basing a lot of this on. Facebook ads seems to be very different for different geographical areas. I know some areas that absolutely flourish in it, and you can, post an ad up there and get a million responses. A lot of individuals that I speak to here in the North Carolina area do not have that type of success with them. I know personally, anytime I think I have too much money, I'll run a Facebook ad to take care of that situation. And I rarely ever get anything useful back from that. If you go to do a Facebook ad, you can actually drill down into the demographics of a person, saying, okay, I want to direct my ad to all females, and I want them to be 24 to 40, who were just engaged in the last 3 months, who live in this area and have interest in, some luxury brand that you think that would help solidify yourself as far as a particular market. According to Facebook, that is what is supposed to get you your demographic, and that ad is supposed to target just those people. I do not have that experience. I can go in and be as focused as possible, and still, when I'm going back and I'm auditing my results, I'm finding that I paid for a double amputee dwarf from Venezuela that speaks Japanese. For some reason, they're getting my ad, and I'm paying for that click instead of somewhere here locally, and I have no idea why these ads are going down that way. So I don't think that it actually works as well as they let on, but you're still paying for those clicks, and there seems to be no way to police it. So I can't say that it's a very you're not going to have a very good return of investment on that. I see newborn photographers, portrait photographers, they have a little bit better turnaround on those. But I think you're also doing with a little bit bigger demographic that they're going after. You have to think too, the person that's hiring you, are they on that particular social media? Has Facebook run its, course? I don't know. It's, the kids, the younger kids aren't on it.
Nope.
They're not on it at all. If you're doing modeling or anything like that, you're on Snapchat, you're on Instagram. That's where you're gonna, if you want to get any type of notoriety. But Facebook is dead to you guys. If you're not, if you're going after a younger demographic, like even if you do senior portraits, it's just you're not finding those people. So it's hard to say what's going to happen with Facebook. And now that they're going to absolutely make it that unless you pay to play, your information is not getting in front of anyone. We may see it completely die off for small business. I don't know. So that one's a little bit, that one we're gonna have to wait and see, just because that's kind of a new change that Zuckerberg's kind of rolling out right now. Yeah. And being that he also owns Instagram, it's the same company. Not everyone's aware of that. I can guarantee you whatever's going on in Facebook will eventually filter down to Instagram, and the same rules apply.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your experience that you just described there is the same thing that I see. I mean, I pay for Facebook ads only so that people could actually, the same people that actually like my page, or even are friends or people that are just following me on Facebook, yeah. I just pay for those people just to see my content. As opposed to, where it's supposed to just be a social engagement where you post and people see it and engage. It just gets buried, but you now have to pay for just to surface that. And I think that's a little bit ridiculous, but that's what Facebook is these days. Yeah,
I mean, I can't, for the wedding industry, I can't say, at least in this region, and speaking from my own experience, I can't say that it is a viable it has a viable return of investment on it. Again, but every region is different. You may be in Chicago or somewhere else and be able to run an ad for engagement sessions or some type of discount that you're offering during the beginning of wedding season. You may absolutely crush. It's hard to say, and it's very strange. It's different. But I can tell from experience, and I've tried multiple ads across multiple years, and I always end up with the same exact results. And it's always a bunch of, I'm paying for a bunch of clicks or of people who absolutely aren't even a demographic that I'm paying for, and I'm getting no response at all. And I'm comparing that against my Google Analytics, and I'm getting nothing showing that I'm getting any traffic off of it at all.
So what do you think so Facebook, in your view, and I guess in my view as well, is something that's a hit or miss, mostly miss. But what in your view is basically works or works better than Facebook for?
I mean, I think ultimately the two things that are going to work, and that is going to be around for quite a while, I think comes down to your paid Google ads. If you're going to do AdWords, if you have to pay to get your message out there. Or we're looking at putting the time into doing, correct SEO work on your website. Google is scary intelligent, and it can, it's scanning your website. It knows if there's quality content on there, and that's what it's going to show in its listings. And the fact of, just putting a couple photos out there and your phone number, no one is ever going to see that website. There's a lot of work that goes into putting useful information that Google is going to rank, that saying that, okay, this is information that I think that, or not I, that Google thinks that should be in front of the people who use Google, so we're going to rank it higher, and we believe this information to be valid and true and reputable, and that's how it ranks that stuff. It's the things that Google does, and I mean, if you you say that let's say, for example, you did a blog entry on your website, and we'll actually touch on blogs later too, that you did a blog entry on your website and you're talking about some venue that you shot, and you mentioned there that the website or the venue was 10,000 square feet and some other arbitrary statistic. Google can actually cross-reference that against, let's say there's a Wikipedia page for this venue, and it had specs there the size of this building. If those two numbers don't jive, Google could potentially actually ding you because saying that this website is now giving incorrect information.
Yeah.
That's the level of, that Google will actually rate the information on your website. So but the problem with SEO is it's you're playing the long game with SEO. There is no, okay, well, I need to start doing SEO because I need business, or they're going to come and take my car, so I'm going to spend a couple of weeks here working on SEO and all my problems are going to be solved. That's not going to happen for you. To do some substantial SEO work, you're talking 4, 5, 6 months to start seeing relevant changes in your standings and consistent changes in your rankings. It could be going on to a year till you really start reaping the benefits of all the SEO work. So that's where we come into Google Ads. If you need something, if you really need to get your message out in front of people right away, the Google Ads is the way to go about doing that. Yeah,
I had a little bit of experience with SEO. The one big mistake I made on the website that I have right now, and to this day it's still that case, because I feel like I just needed to put out all my images out there, just not all, isolated, the few, the ones that you think is really good, you put it on your website. But the problem with that was I saturated, that's a bad word too. I specifically put a few select images on my website, but the problem was the website was fully, it was covered in images, right? And the problem with SEO is, the problem with my website as it relates to SEO is that, one, the images, when you put up the images, you got to make sure that you label the images. Even though you're not seeing it on the website itself, Google is seeing that label. So you got to label the images. If it's a wedding image, you got to label it bride or wedding or whatever. And then also put in text, which my website doesn't have any. Put in text on each one of your pages that says, hey, this is a wedding page, this is a portrait page, and then put text, put some text around there so that Google could actually say, okay, take you to the wedding page. And another thing that I also found out was making sure that you not only put links on the on your website to other site, but try to get your website linked on other people's website, and then Google just makes sure that your website rise to the top, if you would, when people are doing a search organically, not with the Google Ads. Google Ads, on the other hand, I just find that it's very helpful. I pay people to do it. I find it, I just can't do it. It's too complicated for me, but it's it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, though, that for SEO, two of the biggest things that you're looking at is text. It's content. You have a photo on your page, and that's great, and you may have a title for it that has some relevant keywords that you want Google to attach to, but it's not uncommon to if you really want to get good SEO saturation, that you're writing a 200, 500 word, 1,000 word caption that goes along with that photo. I mean, you're talking about the photo, you're talking about the day, because that's what Google's going to crawl and pull that relevant information off of. And the second important thing that you brought up is backlinks, which is the links coming from another website to yours. The more backlinks you can get from reputable websites, those are gold. Yeah. That shows that you are a reputable source on the internet, and Google awards you for that. There's a, I've seen, I've attended SEO workshops, and the one instructor showed us this. He put together this chart of just a million things that Google awards you for on SEO, and not necessarily any of them had any more weight than the other one did, but it's, there's so many things Google looks at. So every little bit helps. You can't do all of it. So the trick is just to kind of tick as many of those little boxes as you can. So, if you can get some link backs, that's awesome. If you work on getting the wording up on your website, that's great. That's what's going to cause you to start slowly going up in the ranks on Google.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I guess to summarize this point, Facebook, you could try it, but it's a hit or miss situation with Facebook. Yeah. Basically what you're saying here, the best thing to probably do is utilize Google Ads and Google AdWords, and then optimize your website for SEO, for the long game, for organic reach. Yeah. So those are the couple of things that you could do with respect to social media and ads for tip number 1.
Okay, let's move on to tip number 2. Again, this comes back to Google rewards you for being reputable, for lack of a better word. So it's so important for you to go out there and work on getting your reviews up on the internet. If you're a business, if you have not set up your Google page yet for your business, do that as soon as you're done watching this video. You need to do that. You need to start collecting Google reviews on there and start building that up. I mean, that is going to be wonderful for your SEO juice. Yelp, again, Yelp is kind of a weird animal to me. I don't think I would ever turn to Yelp for anything. But if you go to places like DC or some metropolitan areas, people live and die by Yelp. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a weird thing. However, whether you use it or not, start collecting reviews also on Yelp. That will also add to the fact that you are a reputable source, and it'll help with your Google rankings. Now, a quick tip about Yelp, if you're not aware of this, is you cannot, Google, you can send them a link if you have a past client, say, hey, can you, if you don't mind, could you please go on there and, if you're happy with the work I did, write a nice little review up. And that's great. And they'll go to that link and do that. Yelp, on the other hand, if you provide them a link and your client clicks on that link, goes there and leaves a review, Yelp will immediately erase that review.
Really?
Yes. For a review to actually count on Yelp, they have to organically go to Yelp. They have to organically search for you, then do a review.
Wow.
Yeah, and most people don't know that. And I got burned on that a couple times myself till I realized that was going on. But they feel that if you're soliciting it, and it's not real. And so they don't. They want you to go through the process of actually somebody searching for you on Yelp, and then they'll reward you with allowing that review to count.
They actually want you to use the platform.
They want you to use that platform. Now, they probably want you to use that platform because then when they go to sell ad space, and I don't know if you've suffered through those phone calls. I get about 3 of them a day. They're going to throw out to you, well, we have X number of people on our platform, and they spend so much time, and they need to elevate those numbers. If you have somebody pop in, pop back out, it lowers those averages. It hurts their pitch for when they go to sell you something.
Yeah.
So, whether you like it or you don't like it, work on getting your reviews on Yelp. I just tell my couples the same thing. And actually, I have a website. It's a hidden page on my website. And so, after the wedding, and I thank him, and we're tying up all the loose ends. I'll send him to this this page on my website, and I'm like, what? If you guys are happy with the work that I had done for you, I'd appreciate it if you go to some of these sites. These things are gold for us, and it helps us further our business. If you have any problems, please reach out to me. I'll see if we can remedy them if there is. I don't really consider it solicitation as much as just because most people don't think about it or may not know. Mm-hmm. But I don't pressure them. If they do it, fine. If not, say Levine, we move on. Facebook. Again, always a trouble child. If you have a business page on Facebook, there's a lot of crazy people out there. And I know a lot of photographers that have had their businesses just decimated on Facebook, or just people just rolling through that they've never even worked with as clients and leaving 1-star reviews and things of that nature.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and Facebook is not very fast to get rid of those. And so a lot of people that I know have simply disabled the reviews on Facebook. And you do that by if you don't list your address in your business page on Facebook, it'll show you, like, if you have 4 or 5-star reviews or whatever it is, and you shut that off, it'll always show on your business page what your reviews are. Like, you have 5-star reviews or whatever, it'll show that, but it won't allow anybody to add to it. Okay. So, do with that what you want. If you want to build up a handful of positive reviews and then kill it, so you don't get the the occasional lunatic coming through and just 1 star and a bunch of people. Or I hear a lot of horror stories of other businesses doing it to each other, just to kind of make them look bad. Photographers can be a very catty breed sometimes, so it's you never know. But I don't really think that anyone is going to Facebook and reading the reviews to hire you for a business anyway. That's not where, I would think that, so to me, using a platform like Yelp or Google or Yelp to collect reviews is better. And we're talking about, you want to get 20, 50, 100 reviews on there. I mean, we're talking substantial numbers you want to work towards. Don't be happy with a couple. And the reason for that is, let's say you have 5 reviews on Google or any platform. We'll talk about Wedding Wire and the Knot and things like that later. But let's say you have 5 reviews somewhere, and you get that one couple. And if you're a wedding photographer, you know who I'm talking about.
Bridezillas.
And yeah, there's no making them happy. I mean, it's not going to happen. And they're going to go on social media and they're going to blow up your, they're going to come after you. If you got 5 reviews, you just buried yourself. Yeah. Because, but if you have 20, 50, 100, that's going to dilute that number. It's been found that, below a 4-star review, there is about an 80 to 90% chance that you're going to get passed over, like immediately. Like, never look at your work. Like, you're just out of the running immediately. So, I mean, you got to stay in that 4 to 5-star review area if you want to get picked up and you want, to have that traffic come to you.
How do you? So, I mean, that's how do you incentivize? I can't ever say the word. How do you get clients to get up and running? And I know you do it today with your website. You send them to the website to get the review. But like, if you're a brand new photographer starting out there, wedding photographer, just started your business, how do you get your clients to basically give you a review so you can get your numbers up? Like, what suggestions would you have for those?
Well, again, Google's free. So, I mean, to do that Google page doesn't cost you anything. So, it's good to ask. And keep in mind, you don't have to ask just the couple. When you're shooting these weddings, if throughout the day you just kind of, you get to the reception, you're just kind of talking to people. If, mom and dad comes over and they're patting you on the back and telling you what a great job you're doing, say, hey, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, you can say, I'd really appreciate it if you'd go and, if you feel up to it and you think you like the work that you saw, then, you can ask for reviews that way too. I mean, there's more people involved than just the bride and groom. I mean, you have a bridal party, you have the parents. I mean, there's a lot of different people that you deal with on a wedding day. Wedding Wire, the Knot, those are also good ways to collect reviews. Those are, like I said, those are 2 platforms we'll talk about a little bit later. But Google's free, and Google is going to help you everywhere. So get on that immediately. And like I said, go back to, if you've not created your Google business page yet, please get on that, because it's going to help you immensely.
Yeah, I totally agree. Reviews give people an insight into what they're gonna get. So, yeah, definitely get your reviews up. So, reviews is tip number 2. All right, moving on to tip number 3.
Tip number 3 is the wedding events and your bridal shows. I'm sure you've heard the thing. You're going to want to be where the brides are. That is a great way to get yourself in front of a bunch of people, especially if you don't. you don't have much of a network going on. Maybe you're not getting referrals. You're not doing well in SEO. No one's knocking at your door. There's a good way to get yourself in front of a lot of people. The negative aspect of that is your bigger wedding shows are crazy expensive. You're looking at, for a single booth, for your larger bridal shows, $1,500, $1,600, $1,800 for a 10 by 10 space. Now you still got to outfit it out. You got to put prints in there. You got to put albums in there. You got to show what they're going to get. You have to get people excited. So then you're going to have an expensive outfitting that. So, I mean, it can be pricey. But there is a good way to get yourself in front of people you normally would not get yourself in front of. Again, wedding shows, much like Facebook ads, they perform differently in different parts of the country. Some bigger cities, I know people who book out their entire year from a wedding show. I know people who go and they do a wedding show and, they have nothing to show for it. After spending, $1,000, $2,000 on their booth. You just have to really kind of balance against what do you think that return on investment is going to be. You spend $1,000 on your booth. Well, what is that cost of acquisition for that client? If you're booking $1,000, if you're the $1,000 photographer, how many weddings do you have to book at that wedding show, for you not just to break even, but to make it worthwhile, to justify that expenditure spread across multiple jobs. I mean, that's, you have to start looking at that as not just like, well, I booked a wedding and it cost me $1,000 and I made $1,000. You're still in the hole because you took your time out. You had your expenditures of getting the booth together. You're going to have to book a handful of weddings to even be back at your break-even point in actual numbers.
I view these wedding events not only to acquire brides and stuff like that, but I personally haven't attended one, but I would view these in twofolds. One, to get potential brides, I guess, right? And the other way is also networking, networking with other vendors and stuff like that. So that's the way I view these two things. But do you think like wedding shows are still relevant? Like, do you participate in those shows?
I personally do not. I found that with what I do between my website and my marketing, the way I look at it I'm a numbers guy. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at a wedding show that's going to cost me, a 10 by 10 booth is $1,600. If I want to get a double booth to really be impressive, we're talking over $2,000, $2,500. What could I do with $2,500 on Google Ads, where I'm going after my bride instead of hoping that my bride is at this bridal show? So it's, you have to kind of weigh those two, and which one do you think you're going to get a return on? I personally would get a return faster on Google Ads. Now, if you really want just a wonderful tip, is you can take advantage of the bridal show at the same time. We had the big bridal show here in January.
Yeah.
And we had the big one every year. So I was running Google Ads at that time, Raleigh wedding photographer. And I was also scanning for people searching for keywords like the bridal show and things of that nature. So when people were searching for the bridal show, looking for directions, looking for their schedule, my ad would come up as a Raleigh wedding photographer. So
sneaky.
the joys of computers. Yeah. So, I mean, you can, there are ways to theoretically hijack, the SEO juice of someone else and be able to get your information out there. And I would do much better doing that than going to the bridal shows. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the bridal shows. I go occasionally, but to be honest, I'm going there trolling for free cupcakes. I mean, that's why I'm going to the bridal shows. I'll come past booths and they're like, I'm like, I know, I know. But yeah, I mean, but I know people who do the wedding shows and just do gangbuster business in different states. You know, I mean, they're just doing ridiculous numbers at them. I think the problem is because there's, you know, there's not that many schools of thought on how you should do your bridal show booth and what you need to do and the business end of it. And I think we see a lot of the booths doing the exact same thing. I mean, the way you go to a bridal show and you stop at every booth, and every booth has their little jar out with, you know, sign up for a chance to win a free engagement session. You know, how special do you think that couple really thinks they are when next Thursday they get a call from 47 different photographers telling them, like, hey, you know what? You just happened to win this engagement session from 47 different photographers. You know, I'd like to think that my clients are a little smarter than that. I mean, I hope that my clients are a little smarter than that. So, I mean, I think part of the bridal show thing is it's a little car salesman for me, and that's just not my style. You know, I'm just not into doing that. You know, I'm not. But what's funny is I get a ton of, you know, I still, you know, whether I run a Google ad like I was saying earlier, or even if I don't, you know, I still get a ton of requests and stuff in January and February, and people are like, you know what, we went to the bridal show, and you know, we're still calling around looking. So it's very important I keep coming back to, it's your SEO, it's your website, it's how are people finding you organically. You know, that's ultimately what's going to, you know, ring your phone.
Yeah. So I guess to put a bow on this thing here, so wedding shows is something that you could do for, you know, trying to acquire brides, but depending on where you are, you know, in the area, you know, in the US or wherever, I don't know if they do it globally, yeah, they do it globally, I guess. But I guess depending on where you are in the US, you know, you may have some success with the wedding shows. Other areas, you may or may not, you know, book someone. But I think the gem that I heard that we could walk away with from this particular tip is, you know, hijack the events, you know, hijack it with AdWords, and you basically have a better success rate than actually putting up a booth, buying product and all that stuff. Do that. All right. So,
now, well, I want to stay on this topic for just one more second, if I could, because we're talking about the big bridal shows.
Yep.
But keep in mind, most venues have, most larger venues have little shows of their own throughout the year where they showcase, you know, they want to showcase their venue and a couple of the local additional vendors. Those can be gold for you, because that's where you're really building a rapport with that venue on top of it.
Okay. And
they may only have, you know, they may only have one or two photographers at each of these mini shows, compared to, you know, I'm going to go to the big bridal show and there's literally going to be 40 photographers in there.
Yeah.
And that's insanity. You know, because to me, if you have 40 photographers, you know, as much as we all think that we're really super awesome photographers, most people can't tell the difference between one photographer to another as far as their work goes. And so if they can't tell the difference in the work, then it comes down to it's your personality when they talk to you. And if it's not that, it's simply a race to the bottom. They're going to the cheapest person.
Yeah.
So, you know, to have that many people in one place, I think is a little overkill. So working up these smaller shows and building those networking skills with vendors. So when somebody books a venue, you know, they may throw your name out there. Because remember, you know, we're probably, you know, in most cases, somebody gets engaged, they pick their date, they're going to the venue, then they're coming after you. So, you know, as a photographer, so, you know, if you have those connections there, that's going to definitely help you a lot too.
Great. All right. Moving on. Number 4.
Number 4. So we have our, you know, we've talked about the organic ways of being found on the internet. Now let's talk about the ones that they're a little less kind as far as what you have to pay. Wedding Wire and The Knot are the two big ones that most wedding photographers are aware of. You know, both of them, again, you know, they have a different pool in each region of the country. When I first came down here, I didn't see that The Knot had much of a
presence.
You know, Yeah, I would talk to brides, and I was running full page ads in a knot and things of that nature, and people never even heard of the magazine or had gone to the website. It seems like Wedding Wire is more entrenched in this region. These are great sites, but again, you have to think about your investment in them. With all of these, you can have a free listing on them, which will put you on page like 400. When it comes up. Ultimately on these paid sites, you want to be on the front page. Our clientele are busy. Even on the front page, most often there's 30 or 40 choices. That's more than enough for them to find their photographer.
Yeah.
The problem is, and we're not even talking like most of them have a featured or a spotlight section across the top that has like maybe 4 or 8 that always show up at the top of every page. Not even talking about those. We're talking about underneath those, just everybody else that always shows up on the first page. For Wedding Wire in this region, that's going to cost you $140 a month, somewhere around there. Wow. For the knot is going to cost you around $340 a month.
Whoa, it's very expensive.
It's very expensive. Again, like any other type of marketing, there is no guarantee of return of investment on it. And that's simply just to have you on a page with, 30 or 40 other photographers as well. If you really want to make your brain hurt, those top ones that I was talking about, if you want one of the top premium ads on the top of the knot, those are over $600 a month.
Wow. You must be one of those $50,000 wedding photographers if you're spending that type of money.
Well, I mean, we see some places, we see places like George Street that is actually more of a chain than it is a independent business and things of that nature. So I mean, they can afford the expense of that. Plus, I'm sure they are also advertising like that in every market, so they're getting a discount on that rate. I do some advertising on the Wedding Wire. I get a fair number of inquiries. What I will say about those sites, if you have never used them, is the business makes it very easy for them to simply, your bride just to kind of go down and like send a request to them, send a request to this person, send a request to this person. So a lot of times you're getting a lot of tire kicking, and you're never hearing back from these people. They're just like, I'm getting married on this date. How much? You're not getting anything to work with. There's no chance of really building a rapport. You can obviously request a in-person meeting or a phone call, but those come by not as often. But those are a good way to, again, if you're trying to kickstart your business, and if you can put that money up there while we're waiting for the SEO stuff to kick in. Wedding Wire, the Knot, those are good ways to get your face and your business up in front of people. Again, you're going to collecting the reviews on those sites. That's going to help you immensely. If you have a company on there that has 100 5-star reviews, and there you are, this little startup company with no reviews, you're going to be a little bit hard pressed to get somebody to click on your ad. So it's very important that you that you do that. Now, something I find funny though about companies like Wedding Wire and the Knot, do you know that even though you may have your web address or your business address on there, they actually intentionally make that a no-follow link. So you get no SEO juice from the Wedding Wire and the Knot of a link back from your business back to your personal website. They intentionally make it so you do not get any SEO juice. Wow. Now, the funny part about this is they every year they come up with like the Couples Choice Awards, or whatever they call it on the Knot, the Best of the Knot or something like that. Mm-hmm. And basically if you get 10 good reviews in a course of a year, you'll win this. I mean, it's not overly prestigious. But the funny thing is, so everybody gets super excited about it. You put it out there because you think your client's going to care about it, and so you put it on your website, you link it back to Wedding Wire, and you're super excited. Now, what you've just done is you just get Wedding Wire another link back to their website. You and about 20,000 other photographers that month. So now when you try to Google for photography in your particular region, guess who's the top 2 spots in every website search that you do? Wedding Wire and the Knot.
So now
clever. It is. It's brilliant. Like, it irritates me as much as I'm proud of them for doing it. But the problem is now when you go to do Google Ads, you're now paying a higher rate for those keywords to get above the knot and wedding wire that you just helped to promote, get up there. Yeah. So it is kind of a vicious circle. But those are the kind of things. So, I mean, I was, in the local wedding group, I mean, I told them, like, if you want one of these, that's awesome. Put the badge on your website. Do not link back to them. If you want to put it out there, that's great. Put it in your signature on your email, whatever you want to do with it. Do not link it back to Wedding Wire. You're just making yourself fall lower in the rankings when you do it. I mean, it's and especially because they actively do not link to your website. That's pretty clear to me, the game that they're playing on that. So
I think that's a very valuable tip there. I don't like companies that's so one-sided.
Yeah, like if they provide the link back, I would have no problem. I mean, I'm a paid vendor on there, and I do not get a paid link back from Wedding Wire. Yeah. That's a little hard for me to swallow. So.
But it's a good Wedding Wire, and the not as good is probably, if you pay to play, you'll get potential good leads, I guess, from those two platforms.
No, absolutely. Like I said, and for the person who's just starting out, like I said, if you can swing that payment and kind of eat that for a while you're getting your business going, that's going to get you out there in front of people that you're not normally going to. You're going to have zero SEO juice. You're not showing up in any searches anyway. So if you want to get yourself out there in front of people actively looking for brides, that's going to be a good way to do that.
Yeah, totally agree. So
let's move on to number 5. Referrals. There's probably nothing that is more useful to you as a wedding photographer than a referral, and it's whether it's coming from a past client or a vendor that you work with on a regular basis, or even another pro. I mean, here in the region we have the WPS, Wedding and Portrait Society, and we have a very good group of professionals where if somebody contacts us and we don't have we're already booked on that day, or if it's something we're unavailable on, we put it out there saying, hey, we had a request on this date. Anybody interested in it? I'll let this up for a couple hours, and then I'll send all the emails off to this person as a referral. That stuff's gold, and that's it's important for you to be, no matter where you are in the country, to be involved in your local community and to be involved in that. If you have a group similar to that, like I said, 70,000 weddings in North Carolina, we can share and still be happy. We don't have to, hold each one of these leads tight to us. And if we can't shoot it, well, nobody is. It's, there's more than enough for everybody. And, everybody's very good about it. And, I can't stress how important that is. Referrals from clients, you're going to have somebody speaking from the position of, this person shot my wedding. I had such a wonderful time. I love my images. There's nothing you can say on your website about yourself that's going to be better than that. So it's so important to have that relationship with your couples and check in on them. Send them an anniversary card. Every once in a while, just see how they're doing. I mean, a lot of my couples, I will say, have friended me on Facebook over the years, and I see them when things happen in their lives. And I had one last year, one of my brides, and it was one of the first weddings that I actually shot on my own, and I saw that that her father had passed away. Without even contacting her, I had gone back to her images and found a really nice photo of her and her dad during the father-daughter dance, and I sent it off, and I had a canvas made of it and I sent it to her as a gift for during that time. And I mean, that I didn't do it for marketing. I did it to show that I was sincere about that. But those are the things that resonate with people because your phone company ain't doing that for you. It's and it goes to show the intimacy that you had with these people, on a day like that. It's you get Christmas cards from these people, and so you can't overlook these relationships. So it's the referrals are certainly a good way to further your business. You know, if you're starting out, you're not going to really have much to work with there. This is something more for the more seasoned person, again, because you're looking for referrals from vendors and clients and other pros. If you're just starting out, more than likely you're not going to refer much to you unless it's kind of low money things, or, you know, where they're not asking for much. But it's something to keep in the back of your head that these things really are important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I guess maybe for the people that's just starting out, maybe if they, you know, do a wedding that, yeah, if they do like a wedding, you know, that they didn't, the client didn't pay them for, you know, maybe they could use that to help them with their referrals. Or, you know, if they're doing like model shoots or whatever, use that to help build up your referral game. You know, let them be your marketers. Go out there and let them be your marketers.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there's a lot to be said for just general goodwill. I mean, I've had, you know, people contact me where they have a wedding coming up in a month or two, and, you know, they have a very minuscule budget to work with, you know, but I'm not doing anything. I see that I'm open on that date. And the odds that I'm going to book a wedding a month out, fairly slim. You know, so I mean, I'll tell them, it's like, you know what, you know, this is what my rates normally are. Where are you looking at? What do you need your budget to be? And I'll work with these people, and they can't be, and I mean, they're super appreciative that you're doing that. I mean, because you're helping them out. They know if they go with somebody low end, they're not going to get good quality images. So they're going to get, you know, a good photographer. They're going to get a great experience, and you've done them a favor. You know, I've done it for a couple couples, and it's repaid itself tenfold of just, you know, goodwill from them and referrals and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so that's tip number 5. And now we have some extra topics to discuss. So we're going to jump.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Yes, I mean, we talked about the kind of the, you know, we're doing the big overview of the things that you can do to help your business and, you know, to acquire new clients. I want to talk about the things that just likely aren't going to help your business. And let's go with the first one. Style shoots for magazines and for other vendors. If you're a photographer, you have there's no end to the request of, I want to do a style shoot for this magazine. You know, can you shoot this for me for free for other vendors? You know, if you want to do it, you want to work on your chops, you want to, experiment, build up your portfolio, God bless. At the end of the day, is that really going to probably turn around for you for other bookings? Probably not. At least not in a way that you're thinking it is. Style shoots for magazines, that always kind of bothers me as a professional, that magazines is a visual medium. Without photography, magazines cease to exist. Photos are the only thing that keeps them not being a radio show. Yet they want us to always submit our images and give them to them for free usage. And I can't tell you the number of times that I have turned down a magazine, but like, no, you can't use my images for free. If you would like to pay for them, you're more than welcome to them. You won't let me have an ad for free. I'm not giving you images to promote your magazine for free. So it's just it's kind of the old exposure game. Well, hey, you're going to get exposure for this. Why don't you do it for free? And I don't know about the rest of you, but I have called the phone company on at least 2 different occasions. They're not hearing about exposure. They're not accepting it for payment, and they're more interested in money. And I think as a businessman, that's where you need to be as well. Photographers like to think themselves as, we're artsy, we're creative. We're not really businessmen. You are. You're running a business, and your bottom line matters. And you should treat it as a business. You have a viable product that has an inherent value to it. Don't give it away for free. You're providing marketing material for somebody else to make money. That's all it comes down to, and for that you should be paid. So don't give your work away.
Great.
Yeah. Let's go on to the second one. Jumping on the latest trends in image processing. It's we're always trying to find a way to stand out, and we see the next we see the new look in imaging and how they're being processed, and whether it's an overly contrasty film look, or maybe it's a very blown out look. one thing you have to remember is that is for you right now for your images. At the end of the day, you're producing artwork for a couple that's forever for them. And you want those images to still look good over the test of time. As we laugh at the selective color and the maybe the white vignetting or whatever thing you can think of over the last 10 15 years that has come and gone as a trend in photography. What's the current trend? It's going to be the same thing. You have to watch you don't fall into the same traps. And also think in terms of, let's say you go and you do the wedding shows, or you're putting stuff up on your website. You get bookings by standing out. You get bookings by somebody identifying with you and what you're doing. If they're walking through a bridal show and everybody's doing the same image and doing it the same exact way, there's nothing special about you. And that's something there's no reason for you to stand out, and there's no reason for them to go with you personally. It's important to have your style, and but make sure you don't fall into the trappings of whatever the new processing look that comes down the pike is. Stay true to what you do, and keep being you. Don't worry about chasing that whatever the fad is at the moment.
Great.
Yeah. The next one, blogging. We talked about SEO, and we talked about the fact that you got to have a ton of words on your website. The problem that is people are starting to be less prone of actually reading a blog. So you're not really writing. I mean, you're writing for content, but you're not really writing towards your customer going on there and finding you. Plus, you see people running into the trappings on blogging where they write an article on whatever, and they're using it, and it's really keyword heavy, these things you want Google to find you for, and then you write the next blog, and you got a couple other different pictures, and you're using all those same words, and you write another blog and different pictures, all those same words. You think, okay, well, if I keep writing all these blogs and I keep hitting all these keywords, it's going to make me rank higher. And that's totally not what's going to happen. Google will rank one page on your website for one term, one keyword, and that's it. The more you use it on multiple pages does not raise the value of that keyword. It's important of how was it used on the page and the importance and the verbiage that went along with it on a single page, but the redundancy across the blog isn't going to help you. If you really want to help yourself on your website, put facts, ways to help your clients. If you're a headshot photographer, you're going to want to put things on there like what to wear, what not to wear for your headshot, or what jewelry not to wear, or do you or do you not need to have hair and makeup. If you're going to have if you do newborn photography, maybe you want to have an article about maybe what foods not to eat or feed your baby so they're going to be more comfortable when it comes time to do their newborn shoot. And again, that's going to help you with Google as far as what's relevant, what's important, and that's going to rank more. Blogging for the sake of you think that somebody's going to that thing on a daily, weekly basis, it's not going to help you. And end of the day, it's kind of like going to the gym in January. You swear you're going to do it, and come February, you're not going to do it. And so then you go for like 3 months and you haven't blogged, and then you feel bad about it. And then so you sit down, you're at like 47 blog entries in a row, and then you don't do it for another 4 months. So it's not really helping you the way you think it is anyway. So, I would say work on your website, work on your SEO. Don't get so caught up on the blogging anymore. Great. All right, let's go on to the next one. Complaining about the low-cost shooters, the people who shoot and burn, your newbies in your area. Don't worry about these people. They don't affect your bottom line. Like I said, 70,000 weddings in North Carolina alone each year. I can't shoot them all. Somebody's got to shoot them all. And if somebody wants to go out and shoot a wedding, excuse me, for less, God bless. People do have to start somewhere. And, generally people complain about it, forget that, yes, you were that person once too. So, don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Stay off Facebook. Stop bitching about them. Work on your own website. Work on your SEO. Get your house in order. these people will eventually either go out of business because they'll realize that that is not a business that can sustain itself, or they'll come up, their numbers will come up, and you won't worry about them anymore because they will no longer be doing that. So it's just something you're wasting your energy and your time on.
Agreed.
Okay, and let's go on to the last one. This one I can't stress enough. All those damn experts out there in their workshops. We joked around about that. There is no end to the number of workshops out there right now, especially on how to be a $10,000 wedding photographer and how to shoot high-end weddings, and wait, these people don't know. If they were making that much money shooting weddings, if I was making that kind of money shooting weddings steadily, I wouldn't want to waste my time with being in a classroom somewhere teaching a bunch of people for $300 a head how to do this. I would be on a beach somewhere. And that's how you have to think about this. That if their advice was so sound, why are they telling you this? Then you have your other a lot of times you also see these instructors that they have some good little nuggets of information, but the real nuggets of information come from when you sign up for the $30 a month website, I'm going to be your business coach and this is how you should run your business. But in doing that, you need to buy my wedding albums and the canvases that my company sells, and you should be using my post-editing company. And so, you're creating this, the person's doing nothing but creating this giant infrastructure for their own business, telling you that's the way to succeed. And all they're doing is sustaining their own business. Go into these things, with a grain of salt. I've listened to a number of them. Most of them are all saying the same thing. A lot of them have no idea what they're talking about. I just came across one the other day that, it was down, I believe, it was in Florida, where the workshop is you go down there and you pay X amount of dollars, and they put on a real wedding, or maybe it's a fake wedding, I don't know, but they made it seem like it was a real wedding, and you shoot the whole wedding. And then you go back and you put up your website and you shot that as a client, and now you have a business as a wedding photographer. I can't tell you how down I am on that. And I had called them out actually about that, and they weren't amused. But I'm like, you're not a wedding photographer. That comes back to if you go to a lot of these wedding shows, you see a lot of people who are putting stuff out there that's, it's model shoots, it's stage shoots, it's not client work. I don't agree with that either. It's like, if I have 6 hours to get one good shot, I could rock that too. I think it's a little false advertising to the, can you produce that image run and gun on a wedding day? That's the only image that matters. If you're showing a bunch of stuff you did in workshops, that's not cool. So, it's important that, take the workshops you think you need, educate yourself. Absolutely. Next month I'll be heading out to WPPI, getting my learn on, learning a bunch of new stuff myself. But, take a lot of stuff with a grain of salt, because unfortunately a lot of those workshops, the guys are only looking to further themselves. They're really not looking out for your best interest.
Agreed. When are you going out to WPPI?
Was it late February?
Because I'm going there. Leave it on Sunday.
Oh, really?
Well, not this Sunday, but the Sunday of that week, which would be what is it, 28th? I think it's the 25th. The 25th.
Yeah, I'll be out there then. Actually, I think I'm getting there on this Saturday, because I want to go out there ahead of the actual expo. You have 2 days of print comp judging. There is no education on this planet that is better than sitting through listening to print comp, where you see some of the best photographers in the world looking at other images from some of the best photographers in the world and telling you why they're great or why they suck. It's an amazing education just to sit and listen to them, critique these images and really tear them apart. And, the things you learn is just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. You pick up little tips and tricks. All right.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go to questions now. So guys, if you do have any questions, make sure you drop them in the chat below. I'm going to scroll up to the top and I'm going to look at the questions that was put in there while we were talking, and then we'll address those questions. Let me just switch up here so that I could get Jeff's front and centered.
Yep.
All right, so let me scroll up here. So if you do have a question, make sure you put a question in front of your question or a question mark in front of your question, and we'll get to it. All right, so let's see here. I did see some other questions that popped in here earlier. Okay, so from James Parrish. James, did you change your icon? It looks like you changed your icon. So what tools do you use to manage your business?
As far as doing the backside of the business, for any type of gallery presentation, if I have a commercial client and I need to send images to them, or a wedding client portraiture, right now I'm using ShootProof. That seems to be probably the best platform. The reason for that is you can actually have it so everyone who visits a particular gallery, you can make it where they have to enter their email address to be able to access the images. So then as that gallery is open, let's say I shoot a wedding and I open up a gallery for 30 days. So then 2 weeks before that I close that gallery, I can send an email out to everyone who's visited it, say, hey, there's only 2 more weeks of this gallery. If you'd like to purchase something, blah, blah, blah. I can do it again the night before. The real cool thing about ShootProof that a lot of people don't know about is I can actually set an iPad up at a wedding that is for the gallery, that just to collect email addresses. And it's an app that runs on iPads only, that logs all these email addresses that people enter. And then when I get home, I can sync it directly to that gallery. And the moment those images go live, it'll automatically notify everybody. So that's a cool marketing piece. As far as the actual business thing, I use a software called Tave. There's a lot of, there's like 17 Hats and a number of other ones, but I find Tave to probably be the most robust out there for, especially for deep drilling into your financials and things of that nature.
Cool. Before I jump to the next question, I was actually jumping ahead. I'm supposed to give a break here really quick. So I just want to plug really quickly here because I was mentioning I go to WPPI. I am going to WPPI. So for the WPPI folks that's going out to WPPI in February, we will be having a photo walk. Myself and Photo Me Ike is going to have a photo walk on the 27th. So if you are going out to WPPI, come out and join us. You could sign up. The link is in the description below, the event link. Also, Jeff's website, I put his website down below as well. But the link to the event is in the description below this video. So if you want to come and join us for the photo walk, just hit that link and register. On the photo walk, we're going to be covering posing. So if you're having issues, posing your brides or posing your models or whatever, come out and we'll show you guys that. We'll cover lighting. So if you're having issues with natural light or working with artificial light and stuff like that, come out and we'll show you how to do that. Photo Me Ike is a gearhead. I am not. So if you have issues with your gear and stuff like that, I'm sure he could help you out with that. And a host of other stuff that we're going to be talking about during the photo walk or questions that you guys may have. So come on out and we could definitely, have some fun. After the event, we're going to have a dinner and we're going to still be addressing questions. I think we're also going to be doing a night photo shoot. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think we're also going to do a night photo shoot. So come on out and join us. Fly out if you're not even going to the WPPI. It's pretty cheap to go to Vegas. Come on out. All right, so just wanted to plug that really quick. Now resuming back to the questions. So James Parrish is asking here again, do you spend time educating your brides and what do you communicate to them?
There's a couple different levels of education that you're going to want to do with your brides or your couples, and some of it depends on how you run your business completely. I'm not down on people who shoot and burn. If that's your model and you're charging enough for your wedding that you feel that that's going to sustain you, that's awesome. You know, whatever works for you. If you're looking to sell product, if you're looking to sell albums, things of that nature, you got to start setting that bug in their ear right off the bat in your early consultations. When you're doing bridal shoots and engagement sessions with them before the wedding, you're telling them, hey, this is going to look amazing as a spread in your album. You're reinforcing that as you're going on. So when you later get onto your in-person sales, you've already kind of laid that groundwork. Other things that, you just want to be that trusted source. If you have a bride going back and forth on whether or not to do a first look, it's good to have, opinions on that in the pros and cons and be able to, objectively tell them, whether you think it's going to work for their particular timeline. There's a lot of different ways that you can educate your couple on the wedding day. One of my biggest pet peeves I'm always telling my brides is, the getting ready room. It's like when I get there, what time I start shooting, pick the room up before I get there. Like, I don't want to roll in there and there's like Bojangles boxes piled up in the corner. And, it's like, these are, the stuff's all in the background of the photo, and no, Jeff will not be photoshopping all that out. So, I kind of set those little ground rules with the couples that, just at the end of the day, it's their photos. I'm telling them not to be mean. I'm telling them so they get, the best possible images.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think that's one of the things that, because here's the thing, as a wedding photographer, even though I don't shoot too many weddings, I don't consider myself to be like a full-time wedding photographer, but I have done more weddings than that bride that's going to sit in front of me. So hopefully she doesn't know, hopefully, right? Hopefully. So she wouldn't know, how things unfold. So that's why she's paying you, right? She comes to you, Jeff, for that experience of, okay, not only to, capture my moment, but also to help educate them on, what they should and shouldn't do throughout the day. So that's why it pays to, have a good education on not only gear and photography, but have a good education with respect to having a great relationship and understanding of how the day unfolds. So
no, absolutely. And that comes back to what we were talking about earlier about, second shooting or third shooting a wedding, so you learn the flow. You have to have that in your head of how long, I know that this is going to happen, then this. How much time do I need to get from A to B? And sometimes, life just kind of sucks and it doesn't happen the way you want it to, and the schedule gets kind of screwed up. But you got to have that kind of in your head as a basis. And if you have not had enough experience with weddings, you have no point of reference. And so when the wedding planner comes, you'd be like, okay, yeah, we're going to give you about 8 minutes to do all the family formals. You can do that, right? You're going to be able to laugh and kind of wave them off and be like, yeah, I'll let you know. And you have to have a point of reference, or you're really going to paint yourself into a corner.
Yeah, I agree. So Dutch Cruise is asking here. Do you see a trend? I think English might not be his first language here. So hang on, let me see if I can decipher this question. Do you see a trend to increase of small stash, intimate, or elope style wedding photography? Is this? I'm not following that.
Okay, I think. Am I seeing an increase in basically your non-wedding, where people are doing kind of smaller weddings or just doing elopements and things like that? No, not really. I get, once in a while, maybe a couple times a year, I'll do the 2-3 hour wedding events, where, they're getting married, they're having a brunch and they're going on with their day. But, people were still doing the weddings. I mean, right now, the average guest list for a wedding is 117 people. I mean, that's your average wedding size here in North Carolina. So, weddings are still, they're still doing, predominantly real weddings. Now, I do see that I think the days of the 200, 300, 400 people weddings, unless you're really throwing out some serious coin on these weddings, you're not seeing that anymore. And I think that is driven more because weddings are now being paid for by the couples, and they're not being paid for as much by mom and pop.
Yeah.
Where, mom and dad, they're inventing all of his work buddies and all the people that mom knows. Now the kids are getting married and they're pocketing this themselves. they're inviting their friends, and mom and dad's just going to have to explain to their friends why they didn't get invited. You know, they're really kind of cutting that down. Kind of a quick story. I had a couple once, or a bride, who called me in tears because they were working on their guest list, and they couldn't get it under like 200 people, like 250 people. And she's like, we really can't afford that because of our per person plate charges, and we don't know what to do. And she's like all in tears, and I'm like, all right, here's what I want you to do. I said, when you guys get home tonight from work, I want you to sit down with a bottle of wine in your guest list, and I want you to go down each name one by one, and I want you to look at each other and say, all right, if I met this person tomorrow for lunch at McDonald's, would I pay for their meal without asking them? And if you won't drop $6 on a Happy Meal, why the hell are you paying $45 for a plate for this person to be at your wedding? And she's like, that's silly. I'm like, it is. I want you to do it. And the next day she called me just in hysterics laughing that they had to list down to like 75, 80 people, and they couldn't be happier because now they actually had it down to the people that actually really mattered in their lives, instead of trying to make it this big event and just inviting people they didn't care about. They were just trying to make it more than it was.
Wow. That's good advice right there. So this is not a question, but just more of a comment or agreement with what you were saying earlier. So James was saying, Houston doesn't have a good response of Facebook ads based on my test last year. I agree with Jeff. So that's just an agreement there. Okay. So let me find another question here. I was just fixated on that. So here's another question from James.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff. He was talking about the photo walk. You just heard about the photo walk, so you won't be at the photo walk. Jeff, D-Mac was asking, will you be in a booth at I guess WPPI?
Oh no, I'm not that important by any stretch of the imagination. No, like I said, you'll find me the first 2 days. I will be living in the image comp room, and then I still have to figure out what classes I'm going to take down there. I'm toying with maybe getting into doing some drone photography, so I might get sucked into that. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn, and I'm going because I do sell products to my clients, and it's important to me to always see if there's something new out there. And I'm very weird about, I won't sell something to a client that I haven't personally held in my hands. So it's important for me to actually go and put hands on all the stuff that I may sell in the future to my couples. Whether albums or framed canvas or whatever I want to sell. I'm going for the trade show as well as the education, just because I want to see the product that's there. Yeah. But hey, feel free to look me up while I'm there. Send me a message through the website, and we can hook up.
Yeah. So have a party in Vegas. Jerome is saying here, this is not a question, more of a comment, just want to read it off here. He's saying, great information, guys. I greatly appreciate it. The business side is the main part that I'm struggling with at this time. Thank you very much, Jeff. So that's some awesome feedback there. So I'm at the bottom here, so I'm not seeing any more questions. Okay. There's a lot of conversations happening. Let's read this one for Marco. What up, Marco? Pick up after yourself. Great call. I find undies and other stuff all over the place. Room looks like a mess.
Yeah, no, I've walked into rooms, and I've literally just put my camera bag down. I'm like, all right, kids, we're cleaning this room before I take a single photo. Like, we got to do this. Like, it has to happen. Yeah, because if not, like, I've walked in and they're like, and they could tell the look on my face, and you'll have one of the bridesmaids chime up, oh, he'll just Photoshop that, and I'm like, oh, hell no, he won't Photoshop that. Like, no, he's not. Like, especially for a getting ready photo. Like, I'm not spending 20 hours in post-production for the getting ready photos of that,
So Eric just popped in here with a question. He's saying, Jeff, do you need a third shooter for an upcoming wedding? Retiring from military Fort Bragg in a few months, and I need to get some experience.
You know what? Shoot me your information, and I actually have I have a wedding coming up down that way. We could talk about that.
So there you go, Eric. All right, so I think we're down to the wire here. So I want to thank everyone that commented, and I see all your comments. I read all the comments, all of them. Good comments, agreeing about the information, and then you're having your own internal conversations, which I can appreciate. So, Jeff, thank you, man. Thank you very much for
I appreciate
doing this. There's not a lot of this content that I find that's out there on the YouTube space, and I feel like, you know, when people is so fixated on, you know, the latest camera that's out there and fixated on you know, just the photography part of it so much that they kind of leave the business to you know, to the side, and you know, having a good understanding of the business and having a good understanding of your gear, having a good understanding of, you know, photography itself, having a full rounded experience, I feel is critical in this day and age to be very successful around. So I sincerely appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your experience with all of us, because I certainly learned a lot by just listening to you. So, guys, thank you for, well, before I do that, Jeff, do you all have anything to say before we close out?
No, like I said, I said at the very beginning, this stuff was all just kind of, you know, top level information. You know, please, you know, if there's any particular part of it, you know, feel free to reach out to me. I'll try to help you out if I can. If not, I know a lot of people way smarter than I am that I can point you in a direction to for some, you know, good, honest advice. You know, my thing is in giving advice is just keeping it real and not promising your roses. It's a lot of work, and it's not always the most obvious of what you have to do, but just keep banging at it, man. If you want to do it, you'll make it happen.
Yeah. So, Marco, I saw your question about where can you find Jeff. I put his website down there, unless you have a different method of they contacting you, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to my website, it has my email right on the front page of the website. Which, if you guys aren't doing that, please, your email and your phone number, front page of your website. Don't make people hunt for your information. Your clients are lazy, man. Work with them. You know, make it as easy as you can for them to find you.
And DMAC was asking here, Jeff, where can I find you at WPPI in day 3 and 4?
Brother, you know what? I don't know. I got a message today that the WPPI app is available.
Oh yeah, that's right. I need to download.
I just downloaded it on my phone, and I still don't know where I'm going to be. I actually was one of the people that this year I lucked out. Jerry and Melissa was having a contest when they moved everything over to the hotel it's at now, and so I had actually won a free pass there and a free photo walk and a free another free class. So I still have to figure out what that stuff is. So I'm still trying to figure out what classes I'm taking. I probably should get on that. I just finally booked my flight yesterday, man. You know, some things I just can't be rushed to do. I'll get around to it. So, but like I said, shoot me an email. You know, and you know, we'll hook up somewhere, grab a drink or something like that. You know, like I said, but if you guys are there early enough, because this happens before the actual convention, you guys hit up Print Comp. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. I learned a lot from my little submission that I sent in. I didn't win anything, but I got.
Yeah, I've been submitting in the with the second half, like the digital submissions, and I merited last year and I merited this year, and this time I sent my very first print off, which is a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be, but. I'm waiting to see how bad I get beat up on it, and I'll take it like a man. It's like, you know, to me, frankly, you know, the merit doesn't do anything for me. It's not going to get me a client. I'd rather get beat up on a print and learn what to do next time for an image. So
yeah, I agree. So guys, if you enjoy this broadcast, please go ahead and smash that thumbs up button on this video, and put some comments down below when this video is no longer live, so that we can get some of that SEO juice that we were just talking about. So put some comments on that stuff down below. And share this video with your friends and family if you think it would be helpful to them. Like Jeff said at the beginning of this broadcast, this information is not just applicable to wedding photographers. You could basically apply these tips to all sorts of businesses, especially the SEO and the Google Ads. You could definitely apply all that stuff to other businesses. So please do share this video with other business owners out there, or people who's trying to get into business. And guys, if you got this far in this video and you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.
Okay.